I've played Tales of the Valiant for the very first time a few weeks ago. Well, I should say I ran a game of Tales of the Valiant a few weeks ago for a party of players that I hadn't played with for years because life kinda got in the way. Now, I asked them if they wanted to start a brand new campaign on a monthly basis playing Tales of the Valiant in the city of Ptolis by Montiku Games. So I can now give you a monthly update on my thoughts and experiences with not only Tales of the Valiant by Kobold Press, but also the city of Ptolis by Montiku Games. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask and today I want to talk about Tales of the Valiant and also a little bit about the city of Ptolis, because that is exactly what I played a few weeks ago with a group that I hadn't played with for years because I kind of ignored them because life got in the way, but I wanted to play with them again and I had Tales of the Valiant and the city of Ptolis to test. I really wanted to test out Tales of Valiant, how it feels, so we started a monthly campaign in person at the table. I have to drive for half an hour to get there and I am running the game because I want to really know how Tales of the Valiant feels and plays, because Tales of the Valiant right now is in a weird position in the tabletop RPG scene where nobody really knows what Tales of the Valiant is or what it tries to do. Some people say it's too much like 5th edition, other people are like, oh, it is almost exactly like 5th edition, which is great. It's just Kobold Press's version. So there's a lot of different opinions. There's also people that's kind of in the middle. And there's a lot of different opinions about the game, about the system, that I just want to test it out for myself and make like this little video series where I give you a monthly update on how the game actually performs, feels, and plays all through the levels of play. Now, although we've only played one session, there was already a few takeaways from Tales of the Valiant that I wanted to talk about in this video. If you don't really know what Tales of the Valiant is, it's basically Kobold Press version of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And I really like 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and I really like Kobold Press. Basically, I've been playing Tales of the Valiant ever since 5th edition came out. Ever since Kobold Press started to create stuff for 5th edition, I've been playing Tales of the Valiant, because that in my idea, in my brain, is what Tales of the Valiant is all about. Kobold Press in the past years, or some of the books of by Kobold Press that I have been making monsters for 5th edition, have been making classes, subclasses, races, feats, spells, character options, backgrounds, all of that stuff for 5th edition. But they've been doing it all through different books, some tied to the Midgard campaign setting, others tied more into like a single book, some tied to an ID like the Shadow, Dark, or that kind of stuff, some tied to an ID like a big forest, magical forest, all of that stuff across different books. What Kobold Press is doing now in my mind, in my brain, is they putting all of that together in one brand. Now, nothing that you see in Tales of Valiant has been put out in any of these books yet. They made up completely. They redesigned the base classes, they redesigned 5th edition, they made some changes to it, and none of those changes are really groundbreaking. They're not really new, they're not really special in a way where, whoa, this is so crazy. It is not, and that is what I like about it. It's just Kobold Press's version of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. It is Dungeons & Dragons, it's 5th edition on steroids. And I absolutely love that, but there are some takeaways that I just want to talk about in this video. Now, just to give you an idea of who we're dealing with here, I made notes. My notes are super professionally done. These are my notes. Basically, in my party, I have a human warlock, I have a halfling ranger, I have a kobold. I did not write down his class, but I know he casts spells, and I have a human wizard. So a human warlock, halfling ranger, a kobold spellcaster, and a human wizard. They are all level 1, and they all entered the city of Ptolis by Montiku Games. And we started the game in Delver's Square. If you do not know what Delver's Square is, it is basically a hub they created in the enormous city. Normally, the city is the hub, and then everything outside of the city in a game often is like the gaming area, right? in this case, the city is so large and so big that they created a hub in the city. And the city itself is like the gaming area, the main thing, the explorable area in the gaming world. It's like the city, and there's a hub, Delver Square, which has an inn. It has a expensive inn, a cheap inn. It has a smithy. It has somebody who sells potions. It has alchemy shop, whatever. It has a gear shop. It has everything the adventurers need. It has like this board that quests are on, and I'm playing a quest from the City of Adventure, a book which has 3 adventures in it, and I'm playing one of these adventures, right? But my characters are level 1, and the main takeaway of Tales of the Valiant is that the characters in my party can do a heck of a lot of stuff on level 1 compared to vanilla Dungeons and Dragons. And when I mean vanilla Dungeons and Dragons is like if you play from the player's handbook +1. That's a rule I've always done in the past. PHB +1, you can build your character from the PHB and one other book. So Tales of the Valiant characters can do a shit ton of stuff. A shit ton of stuff. But here's the big difference. Here's the big thing. I am really experienced with 5th edition as a game master. 2 of my players' characters dropped to 0 hit points and were rolling death saves in the first combat. A combat that I thought they were going to be pretty easy to handle for them. They were rolling death saves. Now, I said they were super strong, but there is this thing that you need to take in account as a game master. They have powers of like a level 2 or 3 character, but they have hit points of a level 1 character. Maybe like a little bit more in Tales of the Valiant, but still, if you land a critical hit on them, if you land like a spell on them with like magic missile and you hit them, you roll 3d4 and you roll 3 3s or 3 4s, you're going to be dishing out a lot of damage to them, especially if like 3 of the 4 people are a spellcaster, right? So it became pretty dangerous pretty quickly, not because they are the monsters are more powerful or whatever, because I just used monsters, 5th edition monsters, like they weren't monsters, they were gang members. I used 5th edition pretty hard for level 1 gang members, but that wasn't out, you know how we do that as game masters. But I thought they were going to be able to handle it because the characters from Tales of the Valiant are that strong. I was like, they're going to probably one-shot one of those dudes. But they didn't, and then one dropped to 0 hit points, the other one dropped to 0 hit points, all because of as a game master, it's really easy to lose yourself in the fact that the characters can do more, but they don't necessarily have that many hit points. And that is a dangerous thing about Tales of the Valiant that I found myself still getting used to as a game master. And that is the kind of stuff you only really notice when you actually play the system. Other than that, there's a few things that I also noticed, and it's basically 2 things. It's the luck system and it is the doom point system. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the doom point system yet, because the doom point system, I really, really love the idea of it in the alpha version, and I still hope to this day that when the Game Master Guide comes, there's more options for doom points in there. So I haven't used the doom point system yet. Now, there's also the luck system, and I have been talking about the luck system a lot. The fact that I absolutely hate it. I don't hate the system. I actually like it. I hate the name of it. There's an entire story. I want it to be called hero points or combat points or whatever points, but not luck, right? But as a mechanic, I learned to really appreciate it. I really was scared that the luck system, luck point system was going to add a lot of much more work to the game, much more overhead kind of stuff to the game. It actually doesn't. As a matter of fact, it gives the players much, like a lot more agency during the combat, during the game. And after all, a lot of people complain about players getting too much agency and all that stuff. After all, I, as a game master, want my players to feel like heroes. I want my players to have fun. I want my players to be like, there's a bunch of goblins, we can go smack their asses if we want. Like, there is no tomorrow. It's just easy peasy for us. That's how I want my players to feel at certain points in the story. And I think the luck system I want to go deeper into the lock system in my next video, because then we have probably been using it a little bit more. But I really don't think it gets in the way, and I thought it was going to get in the way, but I really don't think it is getting in the way of the actual gameplay. Now, all of that is level 1, and there's already a lot of stuff going on level 1. But after all, everybody gets a turn, like an action, everybody gets a bonus action, everybody gets a reaction. So that means that although there's many more options to choose from in set action, bonus action, and reaction, that doesn't mean turns at this point in time are taking much longer, because there's much more you can choose from, but there's not much more you can do. There's still only 6 seconds in a turn, if you know what I mean. So in that sense, at level 1, I don't feel it is taking a long time. Now, for me, 5th edition has always started to fall apart around level 10. Sometimes, depending on who you play with, can be level 8 or 9. If they're really power players, sometimes level 11 or 12, when the people are just like more playing for flavor than for like power levels or whatever. Like tier 1 and tier 2 is where all of the fun is for me personally. So maybe when we're level 3, level 4, Tales of the Valiant falls apart completely. I don't know. I've yet to experience that. I highly doubt it from Kobold Press, because they have some of the best game designers and artists, by the way, in the scene. That said, I think, yeah, I think the lock system is a great thing. I think Tales of the Valiant at this point in time, at level 1, is a great thing. Now, something that should be said that I do to streamline the combat is I now use the everybody acts at the same time kind of mechanic. I don't know how it's called. I don't know who invented it. I use it because Cypher System uses it, and the Cypher System is really great for using that. And basically, when the combat starts, I have a dragon, right? The combat starts, I say roll initiative, and then I give them a number to beat. And the number to beat is the initiative roll of the enemy. So if there is a dragon with a dex of, +9, just spitballing, and I roll a 15, it's a 24. Everybody who defeats that 24, in other cases it will be a 12 or an 8, right? Everybody who defeats that number acts before the dragon. Everybody who doesn't defeat that number acts after the dragon. You know what I mean? If you beat the number, you get to act first, basically. But you act as a group. So if 2 people roll before and 2 people roll after, it's 2 people, dragon, 2 more people. Those 2 people, they function as a group. So they can talk to each other and be like, so it's our turn, right? And we both get an action, we both get a bonus action, we both get this and this and that. So you know what? You have that one spell, I have that one thing. Let me go there first, and then you can cast that spell. That's the way I do it. This doesn't only streamline the combat, it makes it much more realistic, and it makes sitting around waiting for your turn, it almost completely destroys that. It almost completely negates that, because now you act together with other people. So it's almost always your turn. It's either before the monster, your turn, or after the monster, your turn. Of course, if there are more monsters, you can like group them as a game master and roll different kinds of initiative, but still you can group your players for where they place in the initiative order. For me, ever since I started using that in the Cypher System, I've been using that in all my games, and it is the only way ever I want to play in terms of initiative. And that's it for today for Tales of the Valiant, for my game of Tales of the Valiant that I'm running in the Ptolis City by Monteco Games as a 5th edition Tales of the Valiant kind of game, because I still use some monsters of 5th edition. I'm gonna use Tales of the Valiant specific monsters as well, so I can talk about that more. I'm gonna use rules from the Game Master Guide when that comes out as well. I will be able to talk about that more. If you want to see me continue this video series right here on this channel, make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe under this video, so the system kind of tells me like people like that kind of content, and put a comment below with what happened in your Tales of the Valiant game, or whatever you want to ask me. My shoe size is 39 EU, which is pretty damn small. And until next video, bye bye.